Hello and welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here today with Salena Giacomini, who is a BA director, has been a manager, has been a participant in the blueprint, has also brought her team through one of our programs, and has a lot to share with us today about her career and her leadership. And I'm just so excited to have you here today, Selena. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So I know this is a ways back now, maybe 4 or 5 years, but if you can kind of go with the time machine and think back to where you were before you started the business analyst blueprint program originally, like where were you at in your career? What were you looking for? What prompted you to join the program?
I had not I honestly had never even heard of the term business analyst, so I had no idea what a business analyst was or what they did. And really, I was at a point in my career where I felt like I was hitting a wall with growth. I had gone outside of the scope of my job, I think like many BAs do before they kind of formalize that title and joined different work groups and participated and facilitated different process improvement initiatives. So really just trying to get more involved and kind of how to, work interdepartmentally and see improvements there. And, there were some shifts in kind of our org structure, and I just kind of felt like I was hitting a wall. So I was venting to actually my boss at the time and kind of just talking through, what I'd like to be doing, and kind of brainstorming some different ideas. And as we were talking, she actually picked up the phone and was like, called our IT manager, and they were actually hiring a business analyst. And she's like, I think I've got the perfect person for you. So within, 24 hours, I had a title change. So I think probably that participation that along the way doesn't always feel appreciated really did pay off. I think it was my reputation that probably got that to push through so
Yeah.
quickly. So that was super exciting, but then I found myself in this new role that I didn't quite understand, and I had never had a job that I didn't have a clear orientation for. So that was just it was a whole new world for me. Um, and so I think, I was doing okay. I think I was getting by just kind of with my, past experience, kind of gut instinct, but was really lacking a lot of structure. And so um, that's where I started, just searching for different tools and templates. And I actually came across your toolkit, which was, a fantastic starting point. And as I started using some of those, um, I started to question, am I using this right? Is this really the right tool for this topic? And I just was getting a little bit in that analysis paralysis that I think many of us experience, and just really wanting more of a methodology or a framework. So that's really where I started reading more about what you had to offer and your resources, and the blueprint program was super appealing. Just the idea that you'd be able to start applying some of those skills immediately and start to kind of see some improvements. So that's what brought me to the program.
Wow. I had never heard that part of your story. So it feels like some ways similar to mine where I feel like I was, like, stopped in the hallway, right? But then when you look
Yeah.
back, it's like, no, I was really doing a lot of this before, right? So you had a lot of the underlying competencies, you had a lot of experience, but also had never really heard of business analysis. So
Yeah. And I was
that's really
actually coming.
powerful. So you were in the business, I take it, like, in the business side.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I was working in our clinical support team, so doing a lot of administrative, but our department was kind of an intersection of a lot of the workflows, so we just kind of naturally got pulled into a lot of those discussions where, you know, someone voices, that maybe there's a gap in process, and then we all kind of huddle together. And I should also add, at the time we were we were a mid-sized company, but kind of during this shift in my role, we had also it was probably less than a year that we had been acquired by an equity firm. So we were kind of now in the business of mergers and acquisitions. We're growing very quickly. So the business model had shifted quite a bit as well.
Yeah. What was your big takeaway from the program?
Oh, big takeaway from the program. I really, what I really attached to, I mean, it was great going through the different modules to kind of build that confidence that I'm using some of the tools correctly, like your business requirement, um, documentation and workflow diagrams. That was nice because as I was going through the courses, you make it really easy to digest and again apply right away. And I would be turning in, the end of my module thinking, "Oh, I aced this. This was so easy, piece of cake." And then I got my first like feedback and it was like very eye-opening. Um, it was nice to have someone kind of point out and areas where I think I was kind of oversimplifying some of it and not connecting some of that best practice and how little things that might seem finicky to someone, like the way that you're phrasing something through a flow diagram, you know, it's kind of like, oh, well, they know what I mean. But truthfully, what my takeaway was and kind of built over the years is that we are all kind of trying to conserve energy so that we can focus on the things that are most important, right? So little things like being consistent in the way that you're documenting and explaining a process makes it easier for that stakeholder or that end user to take in that information. And now they're really focusing on solving the problem with you and not trying to understand what your documentation says. So that was really powerful. And again, just having that 8-step process, I think seeing how your role kind of progresses through a project and then as a starting point and then being able to kind of take that and adjust with kind of real life scenarios.
Mhm. I don't think I've ever heard anyone use the term conserving energy in that way before. And I love that. Like,
Yeah.
because we do, like, our stakeholders' time is so precious and so valuable, right? And so those nuances do help save them time and energy and give them more thought process to
Hmm.
for the pieces that really matter, which is not hopefully picking apart our language.
Absolutely. And I think we're in a world now where everything is just so fast moving and there's so much information being thrown at people. It's so easy to, I don't know how many different communication methods we have. So to really get someone to focus on something that's important to you and that perhaps maybe should be important to them, but really getting their attention, it's not easy. So I think that the easier you make the onboarding, I think the better results you're gonna see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great takeaway. Thank you. And you mentioned the 8-step process and sort of just fast forwarding, or maybe you can help kind of connect some of the dots too, because
Mhm.
the next time we connected, it was to train your entire team in that 8-step framework. So somewhere
Yes.
between kinda getting pulled into the BA role, and a few years later, you became, like, manager of the team, and we're investing in training for the team and really growing them as leaders as well. So can you kinda continue that part of the story for us? Because from my
Yeah.
perspective, it seemed like a blip, and it was there, but I'm sure there's more to it than that.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of a similar theme. So there's wanting to have that confidence. I think I had gained some confidence in my abilities as a BA, but then to be leading others and, helping to kind of coach and give feedback, that to me is a whole nother layer. So,
Mhm.
I felt like, okay, so went through the program. I'm feeling good about what I produce. But maybe I'm still thinking about some of this, the wrong way. And I think um what was helpful for me is, being able to partner with you and really kind of have you kind of go through the course and then get feedback from the team kind of collectively. I think it helped, kind of build confidence around this framework and if it really makes sense for our organization and um, also kind of helped me grow with the way they envisioned some of this or I guess interpreted some of the steps was a little different than I had and there was
Mhm.
insights that I had missed, like our discussion just around, I think it was scoping out a project. That's not something that we had put a ton of emphasis on, which now looking back kind of sounds silly, but kind of skipping ahead some of those steps and then kind of revisiting some and having that be like a takeaway for me the second round was really nice. Um, so I guess as I moved in that role, again, I wanted to um, kind of build that confidence and then also it's back to that where we spend our time and it just kind of trying to find ways to um, find efficiencies and systems in our day-to-day work. And so a lot of the time I felt was just wasted on communication, making sure we're speaking the same language. So I felt like, okay, if I take them through this course, we'll leave with a similar understanding or kind of level setting our understanding of what the business analysis process is. We were able to define that as a team kind of as we went through the course. And then just having shared language about the kind of deliverables that we have and kind of standardizing our internal BA process.
Yeah, yeah, and there were so many, I loved how your team showed up for the calls, they had such great questions, they challenged me on, like, consistent parts of things, and I was like, "Yeah, this is a great point," like, they really took the material and really made it their own and
Hmm.
took advantage of all the collaboration opportunities that we had. So the piece that's missing, like, how did you make that? Because I know a lot of BAs either they think they might want to be a manager someday or are not sure if it's really for them. Like, what was that decision like for like how did that opportunity come to be for you to lead the team? And what is it that you maybe like what drew you to that? Because it just seems like such
Yeah.
a natural fit for you now. Like you just seem like you're really thriving in that role. So
Well, thank you. No, that's that's a good question. So our team at the time, and I guess still kind of wrapping up, was really just system implementation projects. That was where the bulk of our energy went into. So we kind of were forming this, mini implementation team. And as we were going through those different conversions with sites, I think I kind of naturally just fell into more of a leadership type role. So I just naturally like to kind of keep things organized, making sure everyone's on the same page. Um, and it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision. I think it just kind of naturally happened. And then, I kind of got tapped on the shoulder by my boss at the time and, getting that reassurance that, he thought this was a good fit and that's something that we can continue to grow and pursue. Um, helped
uh,
kind of set the tone.
yeah. Well, that's so it's very similar to the first one, right?
Hmm.
Like kind of
Hmm.
an organic growth and also an opportunity created. So
Yeah, and I guess I don't want to completely just say like, oh, it just kind of happens.
yeah.
That's not entirely true. So kind of as I was getting that feedback and kind of naturally falling into that role, you do have to be somewhat proactive or assertive and with what you want. So I think I made it, clear to my boss kind of where I saw my career path going, where my interests were, what I was willing or wanted to take on. So I definitely played, an active role in that progression.
Yeah. I would imagine, right? To also say, yes, so I want this. Yeah. When it came to the training piece, like your company invested quite substantially in that team.
Hmm.
What was it like for you to make the case for that? Or was it something they were looking for you to go out and find somebody to deliver something? Like, how did that part come to be? Because I talked to a lot of managers who are like, my company just doesn't have a budget for trading,
Yeah.
right? Or it's we do, but it's like this small. So how did that part of the process unfold? Yeah.
Um, so I really tried to kind of sell that return on investment for, if I truly believed, I saw how the program was um exponentially helpful in the way I did my work after kind of coming out of that and how quickly I was able to not just turn around work, it was more the quality of work. So kind of editing down what I was working on, why I was working on it, and making sure that I was communicating to different stakeholders and members of our project team along the way. And I saw how much efficiency I gained as an analyst doing that. So going through that program myself and kind of seeing those benefits, and I think probably, I mean, hopefully, hopefully my leadership team also seeing, the improvement on my end, getting feedback from other stakeholders. I was able to kind of explain, the thought process for this master class. Not every BA is necessarily going to um, be able to kind of dedicate that time to the course at the same time. So I think a lot of my team members had interest in doing the full program. One of them signed up for it actually. She still raves about it. But not all of them could commit to that time commitment. So I wanted to be able to offer something that was really going to help us in the areas that I saw um, the biggest gaps. And so again, that was really, making our communication easier within the team, level setting on how we kind of understand this is the way we do the BA process at PHS, and showing that, it can really build up their confidence and ability to kind of execute on some of the ideas they have rather than again getting stuck in kind of second guessing and maybe doing more work than they really needed to. I feel like there's a lot of um, it's really easy when you start working on a problem to find like little related problems. And then now you're going down this path and you're not even sure what you're solving at the end of the day. so so I think,
Everybody
you know,
has that
yeah, being
spider
able
effect.
yes, absolutely. So being able to kind of talk about my experience and show that I want to kind of build a team. I want to leave here with um clear deliverables that we produce as a team. And I think getting consistent on the way we're even formatting, the way we communicate um, different documents to the business. Again, it's making it easier for them to kind of take that information in. And at that point, like I don't feel that we had done the best job we could at kind of explaining what this team's role was at the organization. So it was really a chance for me to kind of click the reset button and kind of formalize our role and show the importance to the organization. Again, it's really helpful when you have leaders that do kind of support and believe in you. So that's kind of how I pitched it. And I had a lot of ideas for even after we do those courses where I want to take it afterwards. Like for me, that was the jump start. That was just a starting point for other initiatives I wanted to pursue
Yeah.
with the team.
Yeah, I remember when you messaged and you were kind of all sitting down to talk about your takeaways. And, we had
Yeah.
spread things out over a few months, and this was even a few months later. And so that felt really fulfilling to me to know that the work we did was still having an impact like further on. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you
Still
for
is. We
sharing that.
just went through our so every quarter now we sit down, we kind of look at what goals we had set specifically not it's really we're really focused on project work, right? So a lot of our quarterly planning is just what did we deliver on? This
Mhm.
is more what do we want to see improvements on in our within our team. So every quarter we kind of review what we had set out to achieve and then we're setting new ones. So we just kind of went through that process with the new year and
Mhm.
it's nice to see that, it's still that we're still being able to kind of grow from that experience because there's so many conferences and workshops and trainings that you go to it during it, you're like, yes, this is great. And then you leave it and you get kind of sucked into the daily work and you forget all about it. So I really wanted to make sure that that didn't happen.
Yeah. And that's a huge testament to you and your leadership of creating that follow through too. So I just want
Yes.
to
Well,
celebrate
thank
you
you.
and kind of point that out to everyone too. Like, training is a piece and and also how you choose to leverage it from a leadership role is also a piece.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share for anyone listening in who might be interested in leadership or might be thinking about training for themselves or their team or anything along those lines?
Yeah. So as a business analyst, I feel like in my experience and kind of working with my team, it's really easy, especially when you do have projects like an implementation or a conversion project where it's that rinse and repeat and that cycle where it's really easy to get burnt out. Or I think we've all been in situations where we're working on a problem and we feel like it's just going through this cycle where it's like you're so close to a solution and then someone, throws a wrench in it and you're back to the starting line. And I think it's easy to kind of fall into to get a little bit negative or fall into that kind of victim mode. So, I guess one takeaway would be really trying, if you want to kind of move into that leadership role, I think it's starting with your own mindset and how you think about different challenges that come your way. And it sounds corny, but it really is looking at things more as opportunities. At the end of the day, we're all professional problem solvers. So, it's a gift. You got a new problem you gotta solve. So I think it's being able to just kind of reframe your mindset, find some humor in it, take it a little more lightly, and then kind of rather than just trying to push through or grind, sometimes is just kind of taking that step away and kind of internally working on the way you're viewing different situations and maybe again assigning more meaning to it than it needs to. Like I really am again it's that where are you spending your energy? I don't want to spend energy on drama. I want to spend it on, what can I do? So I spend a lot of time thinking through like reframing how can I help in this situation? And then I think as you kind of shift into that leadership role, if you feel like you're in a good space, it's being able to coach others to also kind of reframe their way they're looking at things. And as a BA, that's so important. If I feel like I'm going to go into a meeting and I'm not in the right headspace, I tell my analyst, I'd rather you just reschedule that meeting. If you feel like you can't really show up, and be open-minded about the situation, or let go of whatever baggage might be associated with it. I'd rather we just skip it and hold off, push it out, spend a little more time with it.
Mm. And that is I just wanna emphasize everything I've heard from you is you are in a very fast-paced, high-pressure environment, and so
Hmm.
to say, like, it's okay to take a pause
Yeah.
and also to honor one of the things you have shared about the BA Essentials Masterclass is that shift from a proactive to a reactive or being more strategic, like,
Yes.
it's not easy to honor the strategic, to honor the pause, but, I mean, that in and of itself is a resilient mindset. So, right? Like that's huge.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, top down, I'm very blessed to have, I report to someone who also is supportive of that. He trusts our team at this
Mhm.
point to make the right decisions and um spend our time on, the highest priorities and producing quality work.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also enabling you to still deliver on those timelines.
Yes.
Sometimes the pause is what you need.
Yes, absolutely.
Ah, well, thank you so much for
Well,
being with
thank
me
you.
today and for sharing your insights. And yeah, I can't wait to see where you continue to go in your career and where your team goes. So much opportunity. Thank
Well,
you so
thank you
much,
so
Selena.
much.
All right.
Appreciate it.